Hey, and welcome to the first major quarantine project of 2020, whitewashing the fireplace. I decided that I just couldn't live with all the brown in the house anymore, and this is something that I've been thinking about doing for quite some time, so I mean, what better time than now, right? So, I started last night. I thought I was just going to do like a little test patch, but I had this full cup of paint and didn't want to waste it. So here we go. I started with like a 50-50 mixture of flat white latex paint and felt that it was a bit too opaque. I'm going to walk through steps in this video of kind of things that I found that worked, tips and tricks. If you're wondering, you know, how I did it or how you might be able to do it yourself, if you have a project that you're thinking of. But like I said, I started with a 50-50 mixture of just a flat white latex paint and water. Felt like it was a bit too opaque, so you'll just have to play around with whatever ratio it is that you are looking for, depending on, you know, how painted or how white you want your project to look. We thinned it down to probably, I would say, a 70-30 mixture. And I feel like there's some stones that didn't take the paint quite as well as other ones. And so I may go back over some of those stones just a little bit. But I like the thinner mixture better than the 50-50 because if you start heavy, it's very difficult to fix that if you end up not liking how heavy it is. It's easier to kind of start with less and build up to the color that you want if that's, you know, what you want to do. And it also gives you a little bit more flexibility to maybe add a little bit more whitewash to some stones and have a little bit more transparency in other stones so that there's dimension. But that's just a couple of ideas for you. Using a regular, just 2-inch paintbrush to go over everything. The grout is pretty porous, so it is sucking it up, which is nice because it's staying, you know, a darker shade. So I like that contrast. And then the mantle, the beam, I'm gonna leave that alone. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous as it is, and I think that the contrast between that natural wood and the white is gonna be really, really pretty when it's all said and done. This is gonna look completely different. So definitely ask any more questions that you might have if I don't cover something that you want to know. But aside from the 2-inch paintbrush, I recommend having 2 different rags on hand with you while you're doing this. So just like a dry microfiber towel or a rag to kind of wipe the paint off as you go so that you get that whitewash look. And then I also recommend having like a clean damp rag in case you drip or spill on anything that you don't want there to be paint on. You can really super quick fix that and wipe it off. So be mindful of surfaces that you're around. Of course, I have hardwood floors, so it's a little bit easier, but if you're painting around carpet and things like that, just know that because your paint is super watered down, it's gonna splatter really easy. Like paint has splattered everywhere here, everywhere. Which is fine because it's easy for me to clean up, and I do have some things draped, and I'll definitely drape the mantle and the fireplace when I get closer to it. But because the paint is super thin and because you're not working on an even surface, so your bristles are going to be going off of those uneven edges, you're going to have splatter. So just be mindful of whatever surfaces you're around that you might not want paint on, and make sure that those are covered up really, really well. I'll have some time lapse in here so that you can kind of see what I'm doing as I'm going. And again, I will try and stop and kind of answer some questions as I go. But let me know if anything's unclear or if I can help you with anything. And let's finish this fireplace. Okay, so since I'm down here and it's a little bit easier, I figured I would just kind of show you what I'm doing. So wipe your brush off real good. This will splatter really easily, so you just want to be kind of like gentle. But you can see how watery it is, and you will have some that will start to drip down, so that's why we want to keep that wiping rag close by in case you get some runaway paint. But this is basically just gonna be the process that you follow. Let's put some on, give it a wipe, and then you will have some stones like this one that, and this is not natural stone, this is like resin. So with these ones that aren't picking up the color quite as much, what I'll do is put some on, let it dry for a bit, and then come back and do a little bit more. You could also leave it darker if you wanted to, and that would kind of help to give you some dimension in your stones. But that's kind of the process that I'm working with right now.